All right, on to Screwtape Letters, letter 10. So letter 10 starts off with Screwtape talking to Wormwood that he's heard from Triptweeze, another demon, that his patient has made some very desirable new acquaintances and that you have seemed to use this event in a really promising manner. So Screwtape is encouraging Wormwood to foster the relationship between his patient and his new materialist friends. So something we hear about these friends are rich, smart, superficially intelligent, and brightly skeptical about everything. So Screwtape thinks these are perfect friends for his patient. Wormwood's patient, remember, is Christian, and these friends should be something that can kind of pull him away from his faith. So he does say that soon the patient will realize his faith is in opposition to his friend's views. He will come to some realization, right? According to our reason, we can think through some things on our own. And so Screwtape suggests how to take advantage of this. So what to do next. So he says one of the things he can do is to get him to pretend to agree with him. So even without maybe believing what they say, to, just kind of smile and nod and laugh along and kind of pretend like he believes the same things that they do, even though he doesn't, right? And he has this great quote, "All mortals tend to turn into the thing they are pretending to be." So they're okay if he just pretends to agree with him, because at some point he will turn into that thing. He says the first thing to delay as long as possible is the moment at which he realizes this new pleasure as a temptation, so that eventually he will. So God, angels, right, his conscience will help him recognize that the worldliness of his friends is something that is in contrast with his faith. So then he says, what will I do? What should we do about that? So the next thing to do would be to get him to live as long as possible a double life, or a duplicitous life. So it says 2 parallel lives. He will not only appear to be, but will actually be a different man in each of the circles he frequents. So he says, he will pray and recognize how his fellow Christians couldn't understand his new friend. So he would still go to church and still pray and say, you know what, these lowly Christians here, they wouldn't understand my new friends. And so I can stand here at church and pray with them and not feel guilty. But then when he's with his new friends, he can enjoy time with them and pride himself on how he has access to a deeper spiritual world that they don't have. So this would be a duplicitous life, which we've talked about a little bit, in our class, and how we want to make sure that we have this integrity, this honesty, that we're the same person day in and day out, situation by situation, that we're not one person in front of our friends, another person in front of our family, another person with our church group or whatnot, but that we are, the same person all of the time. And then he talks about, again, going back to this idea of jargon, right? Finally, if all else fails, you can persuade him in defiance of conscience to continue the new acquaintance on the ground that he is, in some unspecified way, doing these people good by the mere fact of drinking their cocktails and laughing at their jokes. And that to cease to do so would be priggish, intolerant, and of course, puritanical. So I want to talk about that word puritanical for a second. So if we go back to what it actually means, right? Remember, jargon is these words that we don't actually understand what they mean, and so we misuse them in these different ways. So originally, it was the beliefs or principles of a group of English Protestants of the late 16th and 17th centuries who regarded the Reformation of the Church under Elizabeth I as incomplete and sought to simplify and regulate forms of worship. So Puritan, right? We all have known and learned about Puritans. So what Screwtape here is saying that they've changed this word. Demons are just tradition or whatnot, but it has changed to this idea that to be Puritan is to be censorious of moral beliefs. Censorious moral beliefs, especially about self-indulgence and sex. So that if you're a Puritan, you keep yourself pure and undefiled, and it turns people away from true virtue, right? So it's jargon to turn people away from virtues like temperance, chastity, and sobriety, right? Oh, I don't want to be a Puritan or whatnot. As a word, jargon, to turn us away from true virtue. So they don't want to be priggish, intolerant, or puritanical by refusing the cocktails, by refusing, to have temperance and control himself, and to control those sexual desires as well. So that is letter 10. It does talk about the importance of friendship. It's okay if we're friends with people who don't believe what we believe, but we need to make sure that we have integrity, that even when we're among people who don't share our beliefs, that we're not being somehow compromising of what we believe, right? We should be able to speak the truth in love, and if they're really our friends, they should still be our friends regardless of what we believe. So we shouldn't have to change who we are to have conversation and friendship. So hope this makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Email me, post them up somewhere on Google Classroom.